Ken said that exactly the way I wrote it, and I'm so grateful. This occasion gives me the opportunity to tell you a bit more about the man who developed the idea of Memorial Day, a man who lived an extraordinary life through times of war and peace. I refer to Major General John Logan, the most outstanding volunteer officer, general officer in the Union Army during those turbulent years of 1861-65. Logan, through zeal and talent, rose to the highest levels in his fields of endeavour, namely politics, the army, veterans affairs, and Freemasonry. The deeds and achievements by Logan, both as a politician and a soldier, are written in large letters across the pages of your history. He was without doubt a most remarkable man. John Alexander Logan was born on the 9th of February 1826 in Jackson County, southwestern Illinois. He was the eldest of 11 children to a very wealthy position. So wealthy, in fact, that up until the age of 14, Logan was educated privately by tutors. And after that, he spent 3 years at Shiloh College, from where he graduated. Apparently, from all accounts, he was an average student, but he won prizes for his oratory, a skill that would serve him well in the years ahead. At maturity, Logan stood 5 feet 7 inches tall, solid muscular build, broad-shouldered and deep-chested. But because of his black hair, eyes, moustache, and very swarthy complexion, he was often referred to as the Indian. Later on, these physical characteristics caused the troops he commanded to affectionately refer to him as Blackjack, a nickname he carried for the rest of his life. Also, Logan was gifted with a beautiful speaking voice, described as a rich, powerful tenor, which he used to great effect in later life. As a lawyer, when addressing the jury, or presenting a case to the court, or cross-examining a witness. As a politician, when campaigning or in Parliament, proposing or opposing a point of view or some point of legislation. And as a soldier, giving stirring, patriotic speeches to his troops before, during, and after the battle. After graduating from Shiloh College, Logan got a job as a county clerk, and he was working there until the outbreak of the Mexican War in 1846. He joined the 1st Illinois Volunteer Infantry and was appointed as second lieutenant. The regiment sent to Santa Fe on garrison duty. He never saw action, either did the regiment, but while he was there, it gave him the opportunity to learn Spanish and recover from a very serious case of measles. After the war, he decided to take up law, and he started reading law in the office of his uncle, Alexander Jenkins, and finally received a law degree from the University of Louisville, and after that he became the county prosecutor. And on the judicial circuit, he made friends with another lawyer called Abraham Lincoln. After his time there, he took up politics and served in the years 53, 54, and later 57 in the Illinois Parliament, or as they called it, the House of Representatives. He was well known for his fiery, dramatic speeches and his strong racist views, an attitude which he changed later when he was serving in Mississippi and Tennessee. He saw the horrors of bravery at first hand, or horrors of slavery at first hand, and changed his attitude completely. After his time in the Illinois House of Representatives, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1859, right through until 1862. He took leave there because he'd seen a battle at first hand, First Bull Run on the 21st of July, 1861, and that inspired him to become a soldier again. And he returned to Illinois, raised a regiment called the 31st Illinois Volunteer Infantry, and he became its colonel. Logan was a natural-born soldier. While serving in the Western theaters, under the command of General Grant. He fought at the Battle of Fort Donaldson on the 15th of February 1862 and was very badly wounded. But his performances were so good that he was promoted in March the 21st, 1862, of becoming a brevet brigadier general. And because of that, he had to resign from Parliament. His performances right through up until the campaign of Vicksburg, he that was commanding a brigade, and later he was promoted to Major General and commanded a division, his efforts were so brilliant that he was responsible for the victories at Jackson and Champions Hill, and also he made a great contribution to the siege of Vicksburg. So much that when Vicksburg was fallen, General Grant gave Logan the honour of leading his troops first into the captured city, and Logan was appointed military governor. His brilliance continued in the later years when the campaign against Atlanta under the command of General Sherman. He was outstanding performances at the Battle of Resaca, Dallas, Kennesaw Mountain, Atlanta, Jonesboro, and Lovejoy Station. By that time, he'd been promoted to command the 15th Corps in the Army of Tennessee. And when that army commander was killed in action on the 22nd of July, 1864, Logan was appointed commander. But he only held that position for 4 days because the overwhelmed commander was General Sherman. And he said that as Logan was not a professional soldier, he was not suited to command an army because he didn't understand the strategies and logistics involved in the role. Logan was bitterly disappointed and angered at the action and hated West Pointers for the rest of his life. Any West Pointers here at the moment? Yet surprisingly, after his death, his son became a West Point graduate cadet and later was a recipient of the Medal of Honor. Before they went on the march to Atlanta, this is Civil War talk you may not understand, before the army had their march through Georgia, the federal elections were coming up in November, and Lincoln wasn't sure that he'd be re-elected. But he said, to increase my chances, I must have the state of Illinois, because in 1860, Lincoln only got 3,000 votes from that state. And he said, to get Illinois, I must have Illinois, I must have Logan. And by presidential decree, Logan was relieved from the army, sent back, and for a month he traversed right across the state giving scores of speeches. Some of them were small, few hundred people, some of them many thousands. His outstanding speech was in Chicago when he spoke to 12,000 people in the open air. And the journalists who were sitting around the fringe reported that every word that General Logan spoke could be heard clearly by the people there, 12,000 of them. They said the printed word cannot control or describe the beauty and power of Mr. Logan's speeches. It's hard to imagine in this day and age of public address systems and microphones that a man could stand in a crowd, amongst a crowd of 12,000, and be heard clearly by them all. Such was the power and beauty of his voice. Thanks to Logan, Lincoln received 30,000 votes from Illinois and was elected. After the campaign, Logan rejoined the army in the Carolinas, and as they fought their way through, once again he performed outstanding as a soldier, natural-born soldier. He saved the city of Raleigh in North Carolina because his troops wanted to extract vengeance on the southern city and were all intent on burning it. Logan met them and told them that if they didn't return to their camps, he would take action. They ignored him and kept on, and they came across an array of cannons pointing towards them, and Logan said, take another step and they will fire. They lost their interest and went back to their camp. Now, Sherman must have had some touch of conscience about what he did to Logan in Atlanta, and on the big parade through Washington on the 24th of May, 1865, he gave Logan the opportunity to leave the army. The Army of Tennessee was led by Logan. After the war, he returned to politics. He was elected back into the House of Representatives, and one of his speeches there lasted for 3 days. After that, in 1871, well, actually from 1867 to 1870, he became the Commander-in-Chief of the Grand Army of the Republic. Now, that was an organisation that was started by Dr. Benjamin Stevenson in Decatur, Illinois, on the 6th of April, 1866. The GAR was what they called the Grand Army of the Republic, and it was an organisation for returned servicemen, those who had served in the Army, the Navy, the Marines, or Coastal Services. At its peak, it had over 400,000 members. And it was a very powerful voting bloc. And Logan, because he was so popular with the troops, he was elected as third commander. And in that position, he worked very hard to improve the benefits and pensions paid to Civil War veterans. And also he worked very hard too, both as a politician and army commander, to improve the lot of those who had been former slaves. His attitude had changed completely. So there was the practice of laying flowers on the graves of Civil War veterans, those that had paid the supreme sacrifice. And as commander of the Grand Army on the 5th of May, 1865, he issued General Order Number 11, stipulating that May the 30th from now on would be a national holiday. It was called Decorators' Day eventually, to place flowers on the graves of those veterans. And it's carried through until the present day, and that's why we're here. Logan was also elected to the US Senate in 1871. He served to 1877, and again in 1879 until his death in 1886. He was a vice presidential candidate in 1884 and was narrowly defeated. All through his life, from the age of a teenager, Logan had suffered very badly from rheumatism. Sometimes he was absolutely incapacitated through the malady. Excuse me. In late December of 1886, the malady struck again most dangerously. He had swollen arms and legs and lost consciousness, and the doctors warned his wife that it may be fatal. And unfortunately, at 3 o'clock on the afternoon of the 26th of December, 1886, Logan closed his eyes forever. And also what was closed was one of the most colourful chapters in the history of the United States. The deeds of John Logan, both as a politician and a soldier, are far easier to admire than to emulate. But by anybody's measure, he certainly was a very great Australian. But Logan himself said, "My greatest achievement is Memorial Day." And for that alone, I think we should honour and remember him. Thank you very much.